Welcome in, everybody, to show number 308, coming to you from my hotel in the Georgetown section of Washington, D.C. Getting ready to head down to the ballpark here for game two of this four-game set between the Rockies and Nationals. Rockies won yesterday 6-4. It was a thrilling win. Tell you more about that in a moment. We want to shout out my two big sponsors. Steel, they are terrific. Been with me since day one. Steel, built for America. I mean, if you're going to do anything outside on your property, then you know about steel, or you ought to know about steel. STIHL. Go check them out at steelusa.com, and you will see not only a bunch of great deals, but you're going to see every product imaginable to help around the front of the house, the back of the house, the side of the house, the lawn, the pasture. Maybe you have acres and acres of land. Steel will get the job done for you. Also, Huntington Bank, they're terrific. They care about you as someone who goes in and wants to be taken care of, a bank that's friendly, a bank that's a neighborhood type of institution. Now, that's what Huntington Bank is all about. Gotten to know their folks very well, and you're going to be impressed with how you are taken care of at Huntington Bank. Go check them out at huntingtonbank.com. That's huntingtonbank.com. All right, so we haven't chatted in a little bit. The Rockies are playing a little bit better. They won the final ball game down in Atlanta. I got to talk about that one first before we go to Washington. The Rockies won 10-1 on Sunday in Atlanta in one of the craziest games I've ever seen. The Rockies had struck out the day before 19 times. Now, that's not good. We understand that. You've got to put the ball in play. I mean, if you think about it, 19 strikeouts is 6 in the third innings where the ball's not in play at all. That gives you limited opportunity to score runs. The Rockies lost that game. The next day, they end up striking out 16 times, which I'm checking some of my notes here for a moment, because I hadn't seen that before, and I realized I hadn't seen it before because it had never happened before. 35 strikeouts, the National League record, but it was odd because Grant Holmes, who struck out 15 of the 16, got the loss. He gave up only 2 hits. The Rockies didn't have a hit until the middle innings. And yet, at one point, the Rockies led 1-0 without a hit. It was a really strange game, and the Rockies ended up blowing them out 10-1 with 9 runs over the final few innings of the game. So I can't imagine any team striking out 35 times in over 2 days and splitting the two. But that's what happened. So the Rockies found a way. It was certainly a quick and happy flight from Atlanta to Washington. And the Nationals have been miserable of late. They came into last night's game having won lost 8 consecutive games. And the Rockies took a 2-0 lead. Hunter Goodman again, first inning home run. And then they find themselves down 4-3 in the top of the ninth. Hunter Goodman comes up against Kyle Finnegan, who has 18 saves, top 3 in all of baseball, and had not given up a home run all year. Hunter Goodman hits his second of the night, 4-4, and literally moments later, Mickey Moniak hits a 2-run home run, and the Rockies end up winning 6-4. So for a couple of days, it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to see the Rockies grind, and I know we've talked a lot about Hunter Goodman, but this is legit what I'm about to say. He's an all-star. He would be an all-star in my mind if he played for the Mets, if he played for the Dodgers, if he played for the Cubs, again, the elite teams in baseball, because his numbers suggest, or not suggest, they scream he should be an all-star. He has an OPS of almost 850. If you're above 800, you're getting consideration if you're playing every day. He plays the toughest position in the sport, behind the plate. He's doing a solid job there. And he leads all National League catchers in homers, in RBIs. He leads all Major League catchers in hits. He leads all National League catchers in total bases. So, I mean, this guy should be an all-star, regardless of the fact that the Rockies have a miserable record. And just watching him grow in front of you, I keep saying this with this Rockies team, it's all about the youth and finding people, finding guys that are going to be part of the solution. Well, Hunter Goodman looks like he's going to be part of the solution. Rockies brought back to the big leagues to start this series in Washington, Michael Toglia, his first 2 times up, he hit the ball hard. He was rewarded his second time with an RBI single. That was good to see. And hopefully he's not only in a better headspace, but he can get some of the results we saw from last year. Because if the Rockies are to continue to try to take these small steps in the right direction and identify young players that, as I just said, are going to be part of the solution, Goodman needs help. He needs a lot of help. And Michael Toglia looked like he was an answer for a half a season last year. And hopefully he can put together another 4 good months here and become that guy who's a really good two-way first baseman. He's going to strike out. I'm not sitting here with any illusions that he's not going to have a high strikeout total. But he needs to hit home runs. He needs to drive guys in when he comes up and there's traffic out there, and continue to play, the really good first base that we're accustomed to. In fact, for the 27th out on Monday night against the Nationals, he made a great play diving down the line and then flipped it to Seth Halverson for the final out. He can really pick it. I tell all fellow announcers when we get together and kind of compare notes, I said, hey, Toglia, you're going to see him at first base. You're going to see this behemoth of a guy, 6'5", 245, 250 pounds. I said he has really soft hands. He moves really well. So that, that's something that, keep your eye on moving forward. Brenton Doyle has not had a good year offensively. There's no other way to spell it out so far. And you hope, because there's still a ton of baseball left. Looking again at my notes, tonight as we head down to the ballpark will be game 73. So there's, in the neighborhood of 90 games remaining. That's a ton of baseball, and you can still turn this thing around, even though it's not been the first half that he had hoped for. A guy that has come up since we last chatted is Ryan Ritter, and we've seen some good things. He's played a very solid shortstop. Little different arm slot when he throws to first base. I was told about that, but he gets it there, and he still has a strong arm, but a little different slot. He's asking all the right questions. I talked to some of the veteran guys about him. They've really been impressed with how he handles himself in the locker room, which is, it's a really important thing for a rookie. And he doesn't seem like he's overmatched or undaunted. He's come up with some big hits. I think he's hitting 7 of his first 9 games as a big leaguer. I like what I see there. Now, obviously, the Rockies, when they get Ezekiel Tovar back, and he's not super close yet, but when they get him back, he's a Rocky shortstop. But, going forward, depending on moves, is there another spot for him in the infield, second or third? Very possibly. Very possibly. You need talent. It's that obvious, right? It's that simple, too. You need talent. You can't have enough of it. So Ritter, small sample size, but so far, cautiously optimistic with some of the things that he's done. One of the guys that we touched on periodically since the Rockies picked him up late in spring training is Mickey Moniak. Moniak, of course, hit the 2-run home run we just talked about. He's got 8 home runs. He's got an OPS of around 750. League average is around 710, roughly. Can he be a third outfielder or a fourth outfielder in a platoon? I think so, because he has a skill set that you like. He's very solid defensively. He runs well. He has a lot of extra base hit to his game. He has pop the other way. So, he's somebody that hopefully, is growing on you. One of the questions I get a lot from people who, have seen from afar that the Rockies record is historically bad. And they say, man, what's it like? Is it just like, a funeral procession, that type of question? And I said, it's not at all. People say, what's the vibe? I said, the vibe's actually really good, because those guys show up every day. And this is a testament now to Warren Schaefer. There's no woe is me. There's no feeling sorry at all for themselves. And if you watched how the Rockies, take the field, warm up, batting practice, take infield before every game, you would have no idea whether their record was, and I'm looking today, 15-57 or 57-15. And that's not bullshit. It's true. I mean, these guys really, they post up every day, and they're very professional, and they're energetic. when the game starts, and their focus is to win the game. Now, are they talented enough to win more than they lose? Not yet. Not right now. We know that. But, you're starting to see signs. But in terms of the vibe, in terms of the culture, surprisingly, I'm sure to many of you, it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. Wanted to comment on the trade that took place, the early blockbuster, if you will, in Major League Baseball. One of the things that's fascinating about following baseball day to day, and it's one of the things that's so unique and appealing for me about the sport of baseball, is that this time of year there are rumors, and then some trades get consummated, and certainly a lot more trades about a month from now as we would really approach the trade deadline toward the end of July. But Rafael Devers was traded from Boston to San Francisco. San Francisco is always starved to find big bats. It's so hard to hit there that they deal with the same thing that the Rockies deal with from a pitching standpoint. Pitchers aren't raising their hands saying, hey, I want to go to Colorado and pitch, right? We know that. Same thing a lot of times for hitters. I know they made the hard run at Aaron Judge. They've made, hard runs at other free agents that could move the needle offensively, but guys really don't want to go there. It's hard to hit there. It's hard to produce a ton of home runs there. It's cold at night when the games take place. So Rafael Devers is shipped from Boston to San Francisco for Kyle Harrison, a guy that throws his fastball the vast majority of the time. Really good young pitcher. Jordan Hicks, former Cardinal. The Giants the last 2 years have used him mostly as a starter, but he came to prominence with his 102-mile-an-hour sinker with St. Louis out of the bullpen. We'll see how Boston utilizes him. They also get a number one, does Boston, James Tibbs, a young prospect on the offensive side. And there was another player involved as well. I don't think Boston's done, whether it's at the trade deadline or in the offseason, because they just removed over $250,000 from their books. But I want to get back to Devers for a moment. And Devers will fit in really nicely on a Giant team that is surprised. It's going to add to their offense. Matt Chapman's down right now, but when they get him back, they obviously become more formidable. I think Devers is a top 10, 15 offensive player in baseball. Boston had to do this deal. I know it's not popular for Red Sox fans, and it probably conjures up a little bit of what took place when they traded Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. Mookie Betts is a much better player overall than Rafael Devers. He gives you offense. He gives you defense at multiple positions. He can run. Rafael Devers is a one-trick pony. He can swing it, and I'm not trying to diminish the importance of his ability to hit the baseball and hit the baseball out of the ballpark. But the shit he pulled for me in Boston, and obviously I'm not privy to, what was said to him, but what has come out, the fact that he was ticked off that they had gotten Bregman, Alex Bregman, and wanted Bregman to play third because Bregman's a much, much better defensive third baseman than Devers. He was upset about that. And then Casas goes down for the season at first base, Tristan Casas, and they asked him to go over and play first base. And that was, another hullabaloo. He wanted nothing to do with that. So here's this guy that you're paying over $300 million over the life of his contract. And he's not a good self-evaluator in that he doesn't look at Bregman and say, all right, this cat's better than me defensively, but getting him makes our team, which I think the sport is about, team better. And then he didn't want to play first base. Devers has to look at himself also and say, what am I? I'm a really good hitter that's a corner infielder. I'm a third baseman right now. Eventually, I'll probably have to move to first if you're evaluating your career timeline accurately. And then I probably become later on in this $300+ million contract a designated hitter because my calling card has always been my offense. Well, he's pissed off again that Bregman's aboard and that they want to move him off third, and the organization didn't tell him up front or whatever. And then doesn't want to help out the other 25 guys in the clubhouse by playing first base in the absence of Tristan Casas. And so I think Boston was forced to do what they did. And it looks like they got a nice haul back. and they also, have all that money off the books, and one would assume that they will spend it elsewhere. But I don't think, in the early reports, I don't think any of the Red Sox players, were crying in their soup the fact that Devers is gone. They know he's talented, but you're not getting a lot of team points based on how he comported himself, if you will, in Boston. All right, I wanted to catch up. I always love catching up. Walt Weiss been on the show before. Love catching up with Walt, former Colorado Rocky players, former Colorado Rocky manager, one of the most astute baseball minds that I get to visit with, and we talk about a myriad of things, not only on the air, but I'm going to share about 15, 20 minutes with you. We talked for a better part of an hour and 40 minutes the other day on a wide range of topics. And Walt, knows the sport so well, and he's adapted to the different time frames. I mean, he came up in the 80s. He came up with the huge sluggers, McGuire and Canseco. And he's a guy that he can be very self-deprecating, but he's one of the smartest people in baseball that I know. And we'll talk about this next point as well, but I do hope he gets another shot at managing. He has an interesting team that's kind of underperformed this year as the right-hand guy to Brian Snitker. The Atlanta Braves have struggled despite a lot of big names in that lineup. So there was a lot of stuff to cover. Again, I love visiting with Walt, and I think you're going to enjoy the conversation as well. So the former Rocky player and manager and current bench coach for the Atlanta Braves, Walt Weiss. Me as a broadcaster, you obviously as a player, coach, manager, spent your life running around baseball parks. This place has been open for a while. Every time I come here now, I'm like, hey, this is near the top of the list. I like this place.
Yeah, they did a nice job with this, Goody. I mean, Turner Field wasn't all that old, but they got a great piece of property here north of Atlanta, and had a great concept, and they put it together, and they nailed it, with this whole Battery area and everything. And it's a different type of crowd. It sounds crazy, but even 20 minutes north, it's a very different atmosphere than it was at Turner Field. That's a little more raucous, I guess you would say.
Yeah, you know what? Because I remember a lot of games there, and the Braves, as you know, were always good. You go back to, the 14 straight division titles, and yet Turner Field, even for playoff games, it was a struggle to get folks, in every seat.
No, that's exactly right. And I lived it. I played there for 3 years, and I saw it. It's always weird for me because everyone claims they're Braves fans in the Southeast. They love the Braves, but at Turner Field, for whatever reason, they didn't show up like you think they would. But it's a different story here. They've been filling up, and outside these walls, there's tens of thousands of more people in the Battery doing their thing. So it was a great concept.
Yeah, they nailed the Battery. I'm sure you get this. I get this all the time from fans. Hey, we're trying to. It's like our bucket list, knocking stadiums off. And for those listening, go to this place. You're going to love it. Go a couple of times. A lot of places to eat. And you live right. You can walk to the ballpark still, right?
Yeah, I have an apartment right on the grounds here, so I don't have to deal with that Atlanta traffic, which is a good thing. But I walk to the park every day. It's been a great spot.
Yeah. I want to talk about your team from 2 years ago, and I know you and I have done this a little bit, quote unquote, off air. Last night we put up a graphic that compared the 23 Atlanta Braves offense to the 27 Yankees, and most people will go, "Oh, come on." No, that was ridiculous what you all did that year.
Yes, statistically, we were the 27 Yankees. It was hard to believe, and it was hard for us to believe when we were living it. But I don't have a great explanation for it. No, we have good players and have good track records, but that was otherworldly in 23, and maybe in some ways it was a curse trying to live up to that. I think our guys dealt with that in 24, and maybe to some degree still in 25 when you set the bar that high. But people have asked me about 23, and I don't have a great explanation. I don't know if the ball was a little more livelier then, but that would be league wide. But yeah, we had guys that a collection of them had the best years of their lives all at the same time. So it was a perfect storm.
Ronald Acuña's back. He missed a year, Walt, and he was in the middle of that storm also offensively in 23. You've played with, you've been around so many gifted players. Where's he on that, list of guys where you go, wow, this dude's different?
Yeah, the power and speed combo is about as good as I've seen, I think. I mean, when you talk about pole-to-pole power, opposite field power, some of the best opposite field juice that I've seen at any level. Guys like McGuire, Canseco, to the pull side. I haven't seen many people hit the ball like that, but Ronald does it all, man. He's still running well. That was a question, with the 2 knee surgeries, and he hasn't really tested it on the bases, but when he's still running really well. So it's like a Ricky Henderson with more power.
Wow.
That I guess, people a couple years ago when he was really doing his thing, people say, give me a comp, just like we're doing now. And I'd sit there for a minute and I go, I don't know, Willie Mays? That's the only guy that really, that's the only guy that I can compare him to. I mean, because of the power and the speed and the elite level that they're both at. I mean, it's Willie Mays is the comp. Now, is he going to have Willie Mays' career? I mean, who does? But, ability-wise, that's the comp.
Yeah. I've never asked you this. You bring up Willie Mays and playing in the Bay Area for all those years and coming up in the Bay Area and growing up in New York. And I know you were more Yankee guy, but Willie came there late in his career. And for me as a Met guy, that was like such a thrill because my dad told me he's the greatest player who ever lived, and he watched him at the Polo Grounds. When you met Willie, even as an accomplished player like yourself, was that different?
Yeah, he's one of those larger than life, and right, especially for us, right? You and I, we grew up back there. I got to see Willie at the end too, playing for the Mets. So when you meet guys like that, I mean, especially in the field that you work and you've admired your whole life, it's almost like surreal, But I got to cross paths with Willie over the years many times, at Candlestick Park in particular, and those guys just have a different aura about them, and it's really cool to actually meet Willie in person.
And you're one of the rare ones that had a relationship with Willie Mays and had a relationship, obviously, with Hank Aaron.
Yeah, that's another one, man. Obviously, being here, Hank was around a lot before he passed. And I still cherish this picture we got in spring training where Hank was riding around in his golf cart, and I was sitting in there with him. And I told someone to take a picture. And it's one of my most cherished pieces of memorabilia. We could debate this, right? Who's the greatest ever lived? But he's in the conversation, And like you said, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, but Hank was a really humble man. He had a heart of gold, and he was wonderful to be around.
There's some great players right now, and I know it's always sacrilege when you compare some of the great ones now to the guys like we're doing of yesteryear. You don't play the Dodgers a ton, but Shohei's now been here for a while, the Angels prior. Whenever I see this dude, I'm like, this is a freak show. As somebody who played and somebody who has been in the game forever, how do you view it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's tough to compare different eras, especially when we worship the guys from the past, right? Mantle, Mays, Aaron, all of them, but I mean, if you just look at it with honestly, Shohei's doing things that no one's ever done. When he was on the mound, you can make a case that he might have been the best pitcher in the game, and in the box, he might be the best hitter in the game. So I mean, who other than the Babe, back when he was playing against plumbers, that's the only guy you can compare him to, but. I'm always amazed at how hard the ball comes off his bat. Like, everything he hits is like 110 plus, Shohei. And he hits balls that look like pop-ups over the mound, and they land 12 rows deep in center field. It's a marvel to see.
Yeah, we just saw Judge, and you haven't played the Yankees yet, have you?
No.
So I always tell people, well, when we were growing up, and obviously I'm not the biggest dude in the world, but it was like in the football program it said 5'7". I ain't never been 5'7" in my life, right? This guy's listed at 6'7", and you know he's like 6'8 and a half.
Yeah.
They make him shorter. They make him smaller.
Yeah. Back in our day, they wouldn't even have given that guy a uniform if he showed up for a baseball tryout. They're like, no, this sport isn't for you. But, you know, they're all bigger, right? But he's still a freak, even in this day and age. And TV does it no justice, right, Goody? I mean, when you see this guy in real life, he looks like a true giant. I mean, he's massive.
If he walks in a tight end, legit, if he walks in, I've said this on the air, if he walks in any NFL tight end room, the other tight ends are like, where'd this freak come from?
Yeah, no, you run that guy through the NFL combine before the draft, he's a first-round pick as a tight end, you know? I don't know if he's ever played football, but he'd figure it out. You know, he's another one. I mean, he's doing things right now. Everyone talks about the pitching now and how hard it is to hit. And this guy's flirting with 400 and he hits a home run every game, it seems like.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys have issues right now. We'll get to that real quick in a moment. When you look on the other side, because I know the Rockies still will always hold a special place, you know, in your heart with your past there and managing, and it's still where you live. It's where you raised your family. What are you seeing right now? And I know it's, you know, the Rockies are down clearly, but what do you see as with your baseball expertise, if you will?
Yeah, shoot. I mean, heck. I mean, I have part of my job here is to prepare for the other team, you know, and go through the matchups and that type of thing. And look, when you look at where they're ranked, you know, on the mound and at the plate, they're, you know, almost dead last or dead last in virtually every category. Now, they're obviously in a window here with the Rockies where you know, they have to look to the future, and they have to get the best of what they have right now. Now, look, they're going to get another high pick in a month here or so, and at some point that's going to take root, you know, and that's the way you got to look at it. And I know they've always had that mentality, and I lived it there. I spent 15 years with the Rockies, so you know they have to draft and develop well. It's not an exact science. You know, you go around the league and see people miss. I mean, and so it's a bit of a crapshoot, and it helps having a high pick. So I think having cumulative, you know, first 5 picks in the draft is going to take root here pretty soon. They're going to have to get that go through the growing pains and live with it right now. But it's going to turn around, you know, and it's all the things that have been documented, tough place to play, this and that. That's beside the point. They're going to be more talented here, I think, in a short period of time.
Quick snapshot. I'm going to ask you about two young Rockies. One, unfortunately, from the Rockies' perspective, is not playing, but I know you're familiar with him. Ezekiel Tovar, and the other kid that you're getting to see now, he's hitting in the 3-hole every ball game, is Hunter Goodman. What do you got on those two guys? Yeah,
as far as Tovar, you know, shortstops have a special place in my heart. But I think Tovar's a guy, if you go around the league, I'm not comparing him to anybody else's shortstop, but I think every team would say, yeah, I'll take that guy at short. You know, and I think that's kind of how you have to evaluate guys at this level. I think every team is raising their hand and taking that guy. I mean, he's that talented. And the Goodman kid, it looks like, to me, I haven't seen a ton of him, but looks like a pure hitter. You know, when he steps in the box, he looks like he knows what he's doing, and he got a knack for getting the barrel to the ball. Yeah. You know, and that's going to serve him well, and already has. But you know, I think he's going to be a pure hitter. You know, for as long as he's in this league, I think he's going to hit.
Yeah, that's what it looks like from our perspective. All right, a couple quick ones to let you fly. You guys get off to the slow start, 0-7 out of the gate, and it's been an uphill climb in what always is a tough division. There's still a lot of baseball left, though, isn't there, from your perspective?
There is, but you know what? We can't keep telling ourselves that, Goody. I mean, we haven't played well. I don't care how you look at it. Our offense has underperformed. Our bullpen has kind of been leaking oil at times. Starting pitching's been pretty darn good. And we have spurts of offense like you saw in the last 3 innings last night. What you saw in the first 6 innings is what we've been for a lot of this year. And it's a head scratcher because we talked about the track records and all that stuff. But it's been hard to put your finger on. And we have an outstanding hitting coach in Tim Hires, and Seitzer was here before that, and he was good. So, and those guys get a lot of the blame, but believe me, that has nothing to do with it. They're getting great information from our hitting coach. But, I think it just confirms that this is a really tough game. I tell people baseball is a simple game, but it's really hard to play it well for a long time, to play it well consistently. And that's what we're seeing. We haven't played it well consistently, especially on the offensive end of it. Now you hold on to hope that these guys have impressive baseball cards and it's going to turn around. But it's been a little while now. It wasn't good last year. And a lot of them are hurt, but when they did play, it wasn't great. So we're hoping that something clicks here and we could make a run at this thing, but it's going to have to turn around here pretty quickly.
I know how close you are with Brian, with Snit. Fair or unfair question, I apologize, but you have been a manager. You've had basically every role in the game. Is it still on the bucket list to get that second shot, maybe in a different environment?
Yeah, look, this has been great for me here. It's been a great landing spot for me. I love working with Snit, and Alex is the GM. is a pleasure to be around. Snit, I don't know if it's a done deal, but I think you're probably leaning toward this being it and going upstairs. Look, I'd like to be in that conversation. We'll see what happens. Sometimes GMs like to make wholesale changes, especially if the year doesn't go as planned. But I really like it here. Good relationship with the people here. So I'm hoping I get a seat at that table and see what happens. And if not, that's okay. I still enjoy what I'm doing. I still love being a part of the game. I still love, wins and losses being on the line every night. It gets my juices flowing. So I don't know what the future holds, but I still love doing it.
Well, I hope you get another shot because you deserve another shot. I'm biased, though.
I appreciate it, Goody. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Great to see you as always.
Yeah, same here. Take care.
Always appreciate Walter, and as I said earlier, I hope he has an opportunity to manage again. It does look like Brian Snitker is going to hang it up after this season. And the Braves are usually one of those organizations that, if they like a guy internally, they're going to stay with that person. We'll see what Alex Anthopoulos, the general manager, determines at the end of the year. A couple of quick notes. JJ Spaun wins the U.S. Open. Fabulous. I always have said I enjoy the U.S. Open. I probably would be Masters 1 and then U.S. Open because I like the challenge where these guys grinded just to make pars. Perhaps it was a little too much at Oakmont with the rough being, like somebody hadn't cut their lawn in 2 years, where they just got to, pound it out into the fairway again. I wish I got to watch more of it because there's this conflict that goes on called my job and doing baseball when the U.S. Open was on. But it was thrilling to watch JJ Spaun. Yeah, not part of the big name brigade. But a fascinating story, and to see him clutch up when it looked like it was going to go the other way in the middle of the round, that was great. And that's what sports is all about. And new stars come to be, and we learned that with JJ Spaun, the San Diego State product, and the native Californian, winning the U.S. Open. Good for him. We'll talk more golf coming up down the road. Still one major left, the British Open coming up in a bit. The other couple of items going on, and by the time you watch this, they may be over, and that's the NBA Finals and the NHL Stanley Cup. Looks like Florida's going to win it. In fact, as we speak, they could win it tonight. And And as far as the NBA is concerned, I thought Oak City was a better team going in. They have now the leg up on Indiana, so we'll see how that one turns out. It's been a little harder to, especially I wanted to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, but with the overlap of my day job or evening job, it's been a little tougher. But good time of year. We'll continue to talk baseball coming up, and we'll continue to try to bring some guests your way also from the world of sports. Take care, stay safe, stay well, everyone. We'll do it again in approximately 7 days or so.